right, so let's get it started. I want to invite up Wendy, and she is going to discuss the assertive yes. I'm very interested in this.
Thank you. Hello. Is it afternoon? Yes, it is. Good afternoon. It is just a pleasure to see all of you all. I try to meet every single one. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I'm Wendy Shenarigan. I'm with Premise Bank. I am over fair lending and complaints. And a little bit more about my background. I am pastor of Christian Outreach Ministries in Waverly, Virginia. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I am the treasurer of the ARMA. I am part of the National Association of Black Compliance and Risk Management Professionals. What else? I am a mother of two handsome young men, and I am a wife of one, and I am, just in case he can hear me, one. And I am a daughter of, and I have two sisters. So it is just a pleasure to be here with you all. I do realize that when you're up here and you're speaking, that you kind of got to give your background a little bit. So if there's anything that resonates with you, please feel free to email me. My information will be at the very end. You can find me on LinkedIn, message me. I am a people's person. And I understand that it is it took a lot for you just to stay to the end. So this is going to be a very interactive presentation because I want to make sure that you all are still engaged. Just like he just said, we have the itis, and we want to make sure that I'm keeping your attention, okay? So right now we're talking about the assertive yes. I'll walk around. Oop, I got to stay at the mic, don't I? Okay, I'm going to stay at the mic. I'm not going to walk around. I'll stay at the mic. Unless, do we have a handheld? Because again, I'm a pastor. I like to walk and talk. It's just in me. I'll take this one. There we go. All right, testing, 1, 2. All right. Okay. So we're talking about the assertive yes today. The assertive yes. Empowering women to master the art of saying no. And I think that's all we've been talking about, really, yesterday and today. So we're just finalizing everything today, right? So we're going to start off with an exercise. I want to keep y'all engaged. We talked about it. We just ate. I know you want to go home, see your babies and stuff like that. So that's why I want to start off with one exercise. And so I'm going to walk around and I'm going to ask each of you what you would do, well, not each of you, but one person from each table, what you would do in a situation. All right? Want to hear it, here it go. Y'all remember that from the old school. A typical day. This is you. You may not look like her, but this is going to be you, okay? All right. You are a risk professional at GRC Medical Center. During this time of the year, there are many fires burning. You have 4 one-hour meetings today starting at 11 a.m. You walk into the office at 9:15. Now, remind you, before you walked into the office, you had to get your son ready for the bus. And you realized that he forgotten his presentation. So you had to run to the school, drop off the presentation, and then get back on the road to make it to the office by 9:15. By the time you get to the office at 9:15, and there is a note on your desk stating audit is requesting a report you completed last month. You have it, because you guys are awesome. You knew audit was going to ask for it, right? But you need to review it again to fine-tune it, the information, before submitting it to the third line. What would you do at that point? We're going to stop there. It's 9:15. You rush in the office. The audit team needs this report, but you need to look over it before you submit it. I'm going to go with my favorite table. Y'all say y'all's going to hype me up. I'm going to ask y'all, what would you do if you found out that you need to submit this report? Anyone? 9:15 in the morning. Realistically.
The week before I got here, I would do everything to submit the report.
Got you. I'm with you. Because audit needs it. She said, oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to say it again? Sorry.
I said the me before Monday that I got here, I would do everything I needed to submit the report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really want y'all to be honest with this, okay? So she said, before I got to this conference, I would have put down everything I need to focus on that report. All right. Now we're looking at, great, so we're focusing on that report. You've had about 30 minutes to focus on it, but at 9:42, an employee asks if you can assist her with completing the offboarding process because she is resigning effective immediately. She's tired of this daggone office. She don't feel like doing it no more. I'm resigning. I need for you to help me take my stuff out, but you still have not finished your audit review. What would you do, table 1? What would you do?
Okay, I have to be honest. I am a people's person. I am mother of everyone. So if someone came to me in that situation, I would probably pause from what I'm doing and try to calm that employee down and try to see how we can help that individual make a separate decision. Let them know I need about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and then let's talk. I think that would be my approach.
I love it. Thank you for your honesty. Let's give her a round of applause. She was honest. Great, great. So we're putting the audit report down, and we're focusing on this employee, because you never know what that employee is going through. She could be going through a mental health breakdown. She could have just said, you know what, I've got to go. I don't have time. We're putting the person first, right? And then, so you're helping this person, but at 9:55, we haven't even gotten to 10 o'clock yet, you guys. At 9:55, your partner calls you asking if you can take your son to basketball tryouts at 3:15. I know you're wondering how in the world did we get this specific. It's because this actually happened to me at this point. My husband did call me at one time when I was typing this up at 9:55 and asked me to. So, but you still have your audit report. Right? You're still helping this person who's trying to resign, okay? And then you still have 3 meetings that you have to attend. So table number 3, what would you do if your spouse called you and said, can you please take your child to basketball tryouts? Anyone want to volunteer? Okay.
I would ask my partner what's on his calendar preventing him from taking him to basketball tryouts at 3:15.
All right, okay. So hubby says, or your partner or your spouse says, I can't do it because I have a deadline at 3 o'clock. It's just not going to get done. What do? Let's be honest. Okay, we're going to keep going forward. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. At 10:03, we finally got to 10 o'clock. 10:03, you receive an invite to a meeting for 10:30. During this meeting, senior leadership will be discussing a project that you've been working on. You've been working on this project for such a long time, and you need their feedback in order to complete the project. What would you do? Let me ask table number 5. What would you do? 10:30. Thank you.
When this has happened, I've actually asked them to try to push the meeting back. Like, I
Okay.
have too much on my plate right now. I need to be a part of this meeting, and can we just rearrange it so that we can do it later?
Gotcha. Thank you so much for your honesty. You can give her a round of applause. I'm just trying to keep y'all up. Just trying to keep y'all up, but they're great answers. All right. So what I want you to look at, can you please raise your hand if this is a typical day for you at your office? Okay, that's good information. And so because you raised your hand, that's the reason why we're having this session, right? And we had a lot of great information, and we had a lot of people say, I set my boundaries. We heard that today a lot, didn't we? We heard after 8 o'clock, I only accept meetings after 8, and I won't accept meetings after 12 on Friday. That sounds great, right? We heard that today, and I feel empowered by hearing that. But let me show you what the statistics truly say, all right? Now, I'm not saying anyone in here is lying, but let me show you the statistics because I am I've been a data analyst, and I love data, right? Women are 76 more likely to volunteer for a project. 76 more likely to volunteer for a project than a man. If you're in a group with men and women, then a person wants to ask someone to volunteer to take on a role, women are asked 44% more times than a man to volunteer for something. So what does that say? That means it's not just us saying yes, it's the perception that the woman will say yes anyway. So where does this come from? And we're going to dive deep into that, into societal norms. I'm going to go ahead and try to also give you some more statistics, of which I think Jason enjoyed just a little bit of this scenario a little bit earlier when we were just testing the video out. Let me see if it works. Okay, hold on. Bear with me. Come on in, it's okay. Yeah, come on in. See, there's a pointer. How do you do this thing? All right, my degree is in marketing information systems. It's not technically in IT. If you can go to, thank you so much, sir. So a friend of mine named Sean Kofeld, he actually sent me this video a few days ago, and I want you to just to listen to it.
If you are an American who has been promoted, congratulations. I hope that you are figuring out what to do with your fat new salary.
But not so fast. Some companies are offering promotions without a raise. I'm sure many of you have heard of this. It's so-called a dry promotion. It's an upgrade to a worker's responsibility and title, but not to compensation. Ray Smith joins us now in Studio 57 to break down this concept. He's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, where he recently covered this trend, which, Ray, you've been sharing with us, is not necessarily new, but it's common whenever there are tough economic times, and it doesn't sound positive at all. So how should folks who might be in a situation like this reply if a boss offers something that sounds like a dry promotion?
They should reply by negotiating.
Okay.
And basically they can say simply, okay, I'd like to do this, I'd like to take this on, but can we talk about a salary increase? Or can we revisit the issue of a salary increase in 3 months if it's not possible now? So they should definitely, if they're going to receive this and consider it, they should definitely negotiate.
Yeah, and Rick,
Here's
you
the
noted
part.
in your article that this has become more common in recent years. And what got me a bit incensed about it is that there is often a gender dynamic associated with it. Why is this happening?
Sure. A couple of coaches that I talked with said that women tend to feel like they're pressured into accepting this offer rather than men. It's almost like a differential in terms of confidence in whether you're going to push for this or if you're going to say, not at this time, or women just tend to feel like they need to say yes to this promotion because they're either not going to get another one or another opportunity, or they don't feel like they have the right or the
There you go. So although we're saying here, hey, you know what, I know how to set my boundaries, I know how to say no, the statistics is not showing that for some reason. And our societal norms are showing that we truly do say yes more than what we think. So I told you all that I am a data person. So I looked up these statistics and I tried to find the Harvard School surveys and all that stuff, but I want to know for myself. You know, the good book says that you're supposed to go and you're supposed to find this knowledge for yourself. So I'm saying, let me find this knowledge for myself. So I sent an email out to an investment group and to my friends. And this investment group is both man and female. And I asked them, I gave them that same exercise. Hey, you guys, what would you do? And all the men said, well, sounds like I may not be able to pick up my spouse's phone call. They're going to have to just text me. I said, wait a minute here. But they found a way to say, hey, if it's important, my spouse will text me or call me back. Right now, I'm a little bit busy. Then all the men also said that if it is important, then we can reschedule the meeting. Someone back there said that as well. I forgot who it was. They also said, I would prioritize the person who's resigning because to me, the greatest benefit in this whole situation is to ensure that they are okay. Everything else, there's no benefit in it at that moment, right? What is the most need? What is of the most need? And so then when I asked my female colleagues, they said, well, I am one dynamic person. I will make a way. I will figure it out. I will do it one thing at a time. And they thought they were really being profound, of which they were. But why is it there is a big difference between how the men respond and how the women respond? And I think I heard the doctor earlier talk about the superwoman complex that we have, where we can handle it all, right? And I remember when we were in the discussions in the committee around bringing this topic on, and I rose my hand, I said, I want to talk about this. It's because at the end of last year, I was in a dark place because I did say yes so much. And the reason why I talked to you all and I spoke about how many organizations that I'm in and what I'm in the very beginning is because when you become a part of all that and you give so much, but you don't receive as much, we talked about earlier, it can be draining. And when you know that you're getting drained, you have to set your boundaries and your limits so that way you can replenish. So how do we do that? All right, let me stop because I can talk. Any questions before I move forward or any comments? Is it resonating with any of you? Good, all right, let's keep going. All right. So, why is this topic needed? We just had the YouTube video around how women are now accepting promotions without the money because they're most likely to say yes. They're called dry promotions. I want my promotions to be very wet. I want my money, and I want it now, okay? So, but we have these psychological factors, and I think, was her name Deborah? She was here, but she had to go. She talked about earlier yesterday about emotional labor. So there is a physical dynamic to this, to where women really do have characteristics innate. Their anatomy is more emotionally driven, and this is by fact, than some other men, right? And so when we do say yes, we have this emotional stimulation or stimuli where we're saying, yes, I can do it. And then when we get it done, we do feel as if some type of gratification. This is fact. And so that's why a lot of the careers that we have that women are in, a lot of them, the caretaker careers, those nurses, those counselors, those RN, my mom was a registered nurse, those teachers, a lot of them, majority of them are what? They're women. Doctors now, doctors are men, but are they really caretaking? It's really those nurses that's gonna flip you over when you need it, all right? So that's why this topic is needed, because innate in us, we do somehow get this stimuli when we say yes and we complete. Who are here, you like to do those little check boxes when you get stuff done? And then when you check it off, you feel like, oh yeah, I did something today. That's what we're talking about today, all right? We also have these societal norms where the woman should be saying yes. Let me give you an example. And I have this example in this book that I talked about it a little bit yesterday during dinner, but I got sidetracked, called Secure. And I wrote a chapter in it, and it begins by, I was riding my bike when I was young. Southern girl, Dinwiddie County, Virginia. Anyone from Dinwiddie County? I didn't think so. So Dinwiddie County, Virginia. My mom said, Renee, she calls me Renee, Renee, don't go outside, ride that bike with flip-flops on. You're gonna hurt your feet. This little Southern girl of me decided I didn't care, I'm gonna go outside with flip-flops on and ride my bike. And so when I was going down this hill, what did I try to do? I tried to stop the bike with my flip-flop on, and I hurt my foot. So I run inside, I'm like, oh, mama, I'm hurting, oh, I'm crying. And she's like, okay, she was very patient, and I'm still crying. She was very patient, and I'm still crying. And eventually she said, look, girl, stop all this crying. Stop the tears, but it still hurt. And so there's nothing wrong with what she said. That's exactly how she was taught, that we need to stop the crying, wipe your tears, do what you need to do, say yes. Everything else will follow afterwards, right? You can do this, wipe your tears. And actually, back in the day, historically, from an African-American woman standpoint, and some of you may already know this, we used to be the test dummies for gynecological surgeries with no pain medicine, because they said black women can tolerate more pain than other races. And so when you have all this stuff where you say, okay, I gotta be strong, I can do it, I can do this, I can do that, all of that stuff manifests in the decisions that you make. So you're saying yes because you really feel like you can do it, but your body is telling you, no, lady, you can't do it. And so this happened to me last year when I was actually in a very dark place. As being a pastor, it can drain a lot out of you. Being a new vice president out of premise, it drained a lot of stuff out of me. And just being a mother of two boys that's active in sports, it drained a lot out of me. And I was at this place, and my therapist told me that you need to rest, and you need to set your boundaries, and you need to learn how to say no. And I was able to say no. And I remember talking to my mom a few months ago, and I think it was in January, and she said, it just seems like you were just like really in this dark place. I just want to make sure. I said, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. And so just last week, I said, I told you I was going to show you. And she sees that I'm happier, more energetic, the boundaries are being set. So it's more than just, I'm going to not take meetings until after 8. It's a great start, don't get me wrong. All of that information was great. But I want you to think about what is causing you to say yes. Everyone's journey is different. So you have to attack that first before you go into understanding the other parts and other pieces of this conversation. The second part is guilt. When we say no, I used to feel guilty. I can't do it, but I'll do it next week. Can we do it next week? Is that okay with you? I'm asking permission to say no. So there's a guilt part to that, where if a manager comes to you and say, could you help me with this project, you don't want to make them feel bad because that's your manager. But then you're forgetting about what's best for you. Right? And then the third part about it, I'm trying to move a little fast because I know that we have flights. The third part about it is the fear of the aftermath. I'm going to say no. It's okay for me to say no. I feel great about saying no, but they're going to pass me over for this promotion. The risk of not being seen, the risk of people not seeing me as a team player, the risk of someone feeling as if I am the angry black woman because I said no. The risk of someone thinking that I am aggressive, right? Is it resonating with anyone? Okay, so that's the next part about it. And then after this slide, I'm gonna pause. Oh, I'm going backwards. Not IT, I am not IT. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to skip this slide. I want to go forward to this one. How do I say no without being viewed as the angry black woman? How do I say no without being viewed as aggressive, right? And so what we really want to say is, heck no, I ain't doing it. You know I have this much on my plate. You know I just stayed up on another project. You know this is not within my job description. I ain't doing it. That's what we really want to say. And I can give you an example, and it's okay. Premise Bank will be okay with this. I remember it's just last week where I was reading a policy, and the policy said, If it's any privacy-related, it's very high level, so this part is not privy. Any privacy-related complaints, contact the VP of Fair Lending and Complaints. I looked at my title. I said, VP, that's me. And let me just make sure that that's supposed to be me. So I emailed my manager, and he said, yes, you're supposed to be over privacy. So I have an option at this point. I can say, yes, I can take it on, or I can say, no, I'm already overloaded. So then I thought about, how do men make these decisions? Like I said before, what is of the most benefit at this point? Is it beneficial for me to take on the regulatory landscape of privacy? Am I comfortable with doing that? Do I have the bandwidth? Would it stress me out? And at that point, it wouldn't stress me out. I think it's quite interesting. So I was able to have the assertive yes and say, okay, I could take that on. But if at any time that you're making a decision between yes and no, one of the things that I've read about in my research is that not all men. When I say men, please know that I'm not saying all men. But most men, they always think about what is the most benefit to me or to the company. So when you're volunteering for these tasks, I'm not saying don't volunteer. What I'm asking you to do is ask, is this beneficial for my promotion? Will this benefit me? Does this help me to learn something? Is this going to be an asset to me? Or is this going to be a liability? I want you to ask that question before you answer. Because sometimes you don't have time to go back and like, well, hold on, let me just wait. Sometimes the answer has to be now. But if you can pause for like 15 seconds, what's the benefit? Then make your decision, okay? Okay, so let's go back to this slide. So this slide, it gives you some great ways to say no without seeming as if you are the angry black woman or aggressive, if you will. So you could just make it a complete sentence. No, thank you. I won't be able to do that. And it's all in your tone, it's all in your reflection, right? No, thank you. I won't be able to do that. Okay? You could be vague but firm. Thank you for asking me, but that is not going to work for me right now. Okay? That's very vague. You don't have to tell them why. They don't have to know that you're trying to go to the spa after work and you don't have time to do it today. Just be vague. Don't put so much effort in. Don't overthink this. I have a tendency of overthinking, and then me and my best friends, we overanalyze. Don't overthink it. Just say no. Third one, referral or delegation. Now, this is something that I had I had an opportunity of getting a little bit better with this. And I've definitely gotten better, but I'm still working on it. I won't be able to. But why don't you ask Joe? He is phenomenal in this area. I'm not able to do it, but Susie Q can. Ask her, look, let me give you someone who may be able to do it. When you go to your doctors, right, and you go to your general doctor, and you may need something special happen. What do? They refer you to the specialist. So don't be ashamed or don't be scared just to refer someone, okay? I will caveat that. One caveat, let them know that you just referred them. Don't let it be that you just referred them to Susie Q, and then Susie Q comes to you like, why in the world did you do that? So make sure you tell them that you've referred. Fourth one, last minute boundary. I use this a lot. I can't add anything onto my calendar this month, but the next time you're planning something, make sure you call me, because I'm gonna be there. Let me know as soon as you have it, because I'm going to be with you. So this is a very soft tone. I can't do it, but gosh darn it, I wish I could. When is the next time you're going to do it? Oh, I'm going to do it next month. Okay, call me next month, and I'm going to see if I can carve out time on my calendar so that way I can actually assist you with this project. Which one of these resonates with you? Anyone? Any volunteers? Yes.
1 and 4, I'm really good about saying no, thank you, I won't be able to, and
1 and 4. I like 4 too. I like 4 too. Any others? There you go. You're number 4. Okay, number 4 is, I think everybody likes number 4. Okay. Number 3, which one's number 3? Oh, the referral. Referral. Do you do that easily? Can you get up here and teach us how to delegate? Because I'm still working on that. How do you do that?
I mean, it really depends on the situation, but I find that when you're getting ready to say no to something, a lot of the time it's something that is administrative
Yeah.
or, that is more properly in someone else's wheelhouse, right? So it's easier that way to be like, I don't actually have time for that, but I think Steve might.
Yeah.
Who does that a lot, maybe put some additional facts around it, that's his thing.
Right, and I like that because I like that because you are actually, that's also a softer one. 1 and 2, it's firm, it's a little bit more direct, so you have to watch how you say it, but 3 and 4 is a more softer way of saying, hey, but I'm still trying to help. It puts that sugar on top. Okay, I saw the hand, I'm just gonna go to Jason because I saw his first, okay.
I go back and forth between 2 and 3, depending on my
The
mood.
vague one, okay.
Because my mom is old school, so she's always taught me that less is more,
Less is more.
right? So why, if I give you more information, that is going to give you an opportunity now to try and convince me into doing it.
I like that, Jason.
So thank you for considering me. Unfortunately, I can't do it at this time.
And leave it like that.
And just leave it like that.
I like that. I like that. I saw her hand. I'm gonna come right back to you. Okay, Ashley.
Thank you. I like to have in my work I'm like, who's your heir apparent when I'm talking to people? I try not to be the only person who knows how to do something. And that's why delegation works for me, because what I can do, I know there's at least one other person who's able to do that. So when I do have a conflict with those tasks or duties or disciplines, I absolutely have a person with everything that's on my list to say, yes, you can go to Mary, you can go to Joe, you can go to this person, because I am not the only resource for anything that I do, and that's by design, so that I can use number 3 every single time.
So you have an internal list that it's internal. It's not something you really write down, but you say,
Yes,
what?
yeah, I
Okay.
know who else can do my job if I'm not available or I don't have the capacity to do it. Maybe not the complete professional role, but certain aspects of it to where I can divvy portions of it out, or go to Joe for this and I'll circle back with you at 3 o'clock and then we can do the rest of it. But it definitely gives me the option to free up my time, because I'm not the only person who can do that.
Gotcha. And one more, I think there's one more here, and then I'll go to, was there another? Oh, it's 2 more, and then we'll go to the next slide. So I'm sorry. Gotcha, I got you.
I like a combination of 1 and 2 because it does speak to the situation, and I feel like sometimes 4 gives them too much time to remember that I said something, and they're like, oh, you remember you said that, and they have to come back to me and I have to say it again. So I don't want to do that. So, and I like 1 because it reminds me of the toddler stage, how free those kids are saying no. So I like to say that. I'm like,
That
no.
is so true.
And I just walk away. And you're just like, oh, they're so cute. I say it as an adult. I don't know if they think it's cute anymore, but it's more freeing because I don't feel like I'm liable anymore. And I know that they may have come to me first, but they still had other people to think about. So it just feels more comfortable to do that. And that's like, I guess it just sets that standard between 2 and 3. Like, yeah, maybe if I want to, I could veer to that, but I don't really delegate to anyone. I don't want to do that. And I may forget to like reach out to that person, like, hey, I volunteered you for something.
Very good, I like that. And I'm gonna go to her really quickly and then get to you. Okay.
I love that Jason loves women too, and it comes easy for him. Because I feel like that is the lesson that we as women need to take from men. And I have this conversation all the time with my husband, because he hears me on the phone justifying to people why I can't do something.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do we as women feel like no is not enough, and we have to validate, all of the reasons that we have to say no?
Because of that emotional part.
Yeah.
Remember I said 3 and 4 is a softer tone. And we have innate want to make sure that we care and make sure that their feelings are okay, and we want to help. But men have it, but not as much as women. So they can do 1 and 2. Sometimes they may need to do 3 and 4, but we just have to know the difference of when to do which one. Good call.
So I would say I like to try to use number 2, and for 3, I like it to be opportunities for somebody else. So not administrative. If someone's looking for an opportunity and I can't fulfill it, or to say, put it out as a volunteer. Like, ask for volunteers, because I don't want to volunteer someone, or someone else's plate is too full. I don't want them to have to feel like they have to say yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have another question for you, Anna. This is where it's going to hit home. This is easy to do with your colleagues, with your teammates. What about your manager? What about your executive? Oh, as you're giving her the mic, I'm going to give you an example, all right? And I remember my plate was full. I mean, it was full to capacity. And it wasn't at Primus Bank, but it was at a previous employer. I can't tell you the name. The views and the ideas that I'm coming from today is not indicative of my employer, okay? It has nothing to do with my employer, okay? But I remember a previous employer. You can glean a little bit of who it may have been if you look on LinkedIn. But I was so stressed and just to the limit, where I wasn't able to sleep at night. I was bringing home my computer. I was logging on. I just had a child. It was just too much. And at that time, because I kept saying yes, I can do this, I can do this. And I finally said to my manager, and also to the executive, because it was an executive meeting as well, you have me, and I'm a data person. I listed out everything that I'm doing. And this is all the stuff you would like for me to do. What would you like for me to stop doing so I can get what you want done? And they're going to be like, oh, well, she's so thoughtful. But in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm telling you, I'm not doing this anymore. You tell me what you want me to do, because I'm not doing it all, right? So that's how I did it. From an executive level, when you put the data in front of them, and it doesn't have to be a full blown out deck or presentation, but just when they see it in front of them, just summarize it. And then if you want to go the extra mile, someone talked about the financial health of the company. Remember we were talking about that yesterday? That's how they normally, it was you. Okay, that's how they normally respond. If you put numbers beside each task, how many hours and what that equates to according to your salary or whatever it may be, then they will respond. Okay, yes.
I totally agree. I was going to say the same thing. So having three large components in cybersecurity. So vulnerability management, which is the governance side. So every bug or issue with the software I'm responsible for to make sure that it's fixed. Then I'm responsible for every customer, every bank, every healthcare, every business domestically and internationally sends in the security assessment reports and questionnaires, and it could be 300 questionnaires. I have to respond to every single one of them. And then I'm responsible for all regulatory compliance for every single product, including our cloud solutions, right? And so I lay it out like that, and then I'm like, now you want me to do something else. Please explain to me which one of these you want me to delegate to someone else. And oftentimes my boss says, and I have said this to my boss, I've said this to my CEO, I've said this to my COO, I'm happy to do whatever you ask me to do, but please note that you hired me for these 3 items, and I'm still understaffed because I'm a department of 1.
Wow.
Right? They just hired me for regulatory compliance in 2019. August of 2019, they said, hey, can you take on vulnerability? Then they were like, oh, we don't know what we're doing in vendor risk management. And I said, oh, great, I need somebody for that. And so now it's, oh, Monica, we really thought you had the time. There's no way, because I have 4 certifications I have to get this company through. You have to give me something else or give me someone else. So I think setting the boundary, and like you said, listing out your roles and responsibilities right now helps them to remember.
Yeah.
Right? They see the excellence in you. They see that what you produce is excellent, but they sometimes forget that you are human and you need time and you have to deliver. And then by setting that boundary and giving and reminding them allows you the opportunities to, 1, highlight how important you are to the company, but 2, also setting the boundaries so that they're not disappointed in the expectation of you saying no, because you are saying no, and then give them the freedom to help you either get the help that you need or not. Does that make sense to everybody?
It does, yeah.
All right, I'm done.
No, you're fine. Thank you so much for that input. I really appreciate it because it really ties back to the slide that I skipped around boundaries and limits. So I told you all that I was going to call on some tables. So I'm going to do table 7, if you don't mind. Table 7. And you're like, oh man. Table 7. Anyone at table 7 who has already knows when they go back to work tomorrow, whenever it may be, do you know what you're going to be working on?
That's assuming we aren't working on it right now. I mean, hello. Yes.
So you know that from 8 to 12, you'll be working on one project, and from 2 to 4, you'll be working on another, or the whole day you'll be working on one thing? Do you know your boundary? Do you know what your limits will be for that day? Do you know how many yeses you can say that day? Do you know when you'll be able to, how many emails to respond to before you say, okay, this is enough?
Those are great questions.
Yeah. It's meant to stump you. You're not supposed to answer it. It's okay. It's all right. But this is taking it to another level. But I just want you to hear me for a second, okay? When you get to work, I really want you to start thinking about what your boundaries are and your limits are. It's more than just saying I'm only going to work from 8 to 5 today. Within those 8 hours, what are you going to do? And if there is an interruption, that's when you say, no, I can't do it. Because it's not within my boundaries, and I know what my limits are, right? So each day when I go to work, in my head, and this may be a little bit more to the left, so you can do it any way you know how. Each day I go to work, on my way to work, because it's a 30-minute drive, I say from 9 to 11, I'm working on this. If I get any interruptions, I will handle it from 11 to 11:30. You're not going to stress me out. If you want me to be the Fair Lending Vice President, then allow me to fairly lend the business, right? My job is not to answer emails from 9 to 5. It is to work and be specific on fair lending and complaints. Right? Now, of course, if Dennis Zimber sends me an email, I'm stopping everything. He's a CEO. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's just be real. But if there's anything outside of the CEO, which he has emailed me before, some great stuff. He's a wonderful guy, by the way. My executive I report to and my SVP, everything else can wait. From 9 to 11. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
I think it's fine to set those boundaries, but I'm in audit. I don't think I've said that all day. Things come up.
They do.
Right? Yes, I'm gonna only answer emails from 9 to 11, but depending on your responsibilities, things are going to come up. I don't know is it really about saying I'm only gonna answer emails, as an example, from 9 to 11, or is it really about prioritizing the work and knowing, okay, this was what I was gonna do, but now there's this fire drill that can impact the entire company or function or whatever. I need to reprioritize my work. I can put this on the back burner and take this on.
I think that is
that's what it
appropriate. And I think that you're absolutely correct, because in the beginning of the statement, I stated, this is how I can do it, but you do it how you would like. So for example, if that happened to me, when examiners come, everything else stops. Then I will say, I'm working on this examining request from 9 to 11. Not fair lending, everything else can wait. So I'm not saying you have to be super rigid, but what I'm telling you is there should be a structure. There should be a boundary that is set each day or each week that you set for yourself, or a limit, and know that things will occur. But if you're just going to work willy-nilly and you have no boundaries and limits set, you're glutton to say yes too much.
Audit. I'm sorry. So I know I'm in audit, and we come and we ask questions. If an auditor comes to you, I'm not talking about your regulatory auditors, I'm talking about internal auditors.
Okay.
If we come to you today and say, I need the report now, feel free to push back and say, no. You should have told me that yesterday.
Yeah.
Then I am going to be able to get that report to you tomorrow. They will wait.
So there's a, we got some hands now. So I'm gonna say this and we'll go, because I know you've been waiting. Thank you so much, especially from an audit perspective. So in my mind, from a GRC perspective, the 3 lines is truly how I prioritize, right? We all know about the 3 lines, right? If there is examiner, I put the examiners and the regulator on the 3rd line, even though it's not really officially there. That's how I place it. It's examiners, regulators, internal audit, with the exception of what you said, because internal audit, they can bend much more than a regulator could, regulatory request. 2nd line, because I know exactly if BSA is asking me something that's fraud related, I need to protect the bank, AML related, something of that nature, then the 1st line. The only time I bend and have the 1st line request is because my job is fair lending. So if there is something around discrimination, UDAP-related issues, I prioritize that immediately, because that means a consumer has been harmed, and they are my first priority. And especially since all of us are in compliance or law or something of that nature, we're really supposed to be, although we work for the company, we're really supposed to be not really of the company, if that makes sense. So we're supposed to be oversight regardless. So that's how I prioritize my work. But again, if you don't have boundaries and limits set for your day, you'll continue to say yes and get absolutely nothing done.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off what my colleague here just mentioned. So I really think this depends on the industry you're in. I work at an investment bank, and it's a global bank, right, with offices in over 80 countries. And my colleagues are not all in the U.S. And so to structure my day with this idea that I'm only responding between 9 and 11, right, it's not possible, right, because my function is an advisory function to the business. We have clients with trades with millions of dollars at stake. I can't at any point say, I'm not going to respond to this because I've only responded to emails between 9 and 11. I just think that we need to think about the industry you're in, right? It might be possible in certain industries, but as a professional, right, and depending on the job that you're in, right, we have to think about taking on, admittedly, taking on things that are beyond the realm of your responsibilities, right, comes with risks, and you have to judge that, right? And if that's adding to your ability to do your day-to-day, right, then you need to prioritize, right? I think there's stretch roles that you can take on, right? Because the value you're getting out of that is perhaps a skill that you don't have in your day-to-day, right? So you need to think about what you're taking on and what value it adds to your background, your education, your skills. meeting people, right? There's people value too in taking on stretch roles. So I just think that depending on the industry, I just think we need to be careful about how we're saying we're very rigid or structured in what we're not doing in a certain period of time, because really it's not possible, in a firm like UBS.
I agree with you, and that's why I said I am far to the left. That's how I manage my day, because of the industry and the bank I am at. I would not use that same approach if I was back at Capital One or when I used to work at Altria. However, I still stand firm when I said you still have to have your boundaries and your limits. Whatever it looks like for you, it looks like for you. So if you are capable of responding to emails throughout the day and still get your work done, that's great. But before you make your decision on taking on those stretch roles and those added responsibilities, take your pause and say, how is this going to benefit me? Because statistics still shows that women will say yes, even if it doesn't benefit. And then you end up being burnt out. So whatever it looks like for you, it looks like for you, but make sure you set it. I'm gonna get to Jennifer real quick, and then I'll come back. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, yes.
It's okay, it's all right.
I don't have the mic, though.
Would you like mine?
Oh, sure. I was just going to say, to that point, Wendy, one of my boundaries in your scenario before with the internal audit, wanting the report, is I don't want my name on anything that I haven't had time to look at and had time to actually review. That's my boundary. And so when I get those demands like, oh, we need you to send this report, and I need to sit with the report, I need to review it, and they're looking for my approval, that's a boundary for me. So I will not approve, sign anything without me having time to look at what I'm signing, what I'm reviewing, what I'm okaying, because that has came back to bite me in the butt in my early years, like trying to appease everybody, trying to get things done according to their deadlines, that ended up, not working in my favor. So now I have like a boundary where if my name is gonna go on something, if I'm approving something, then I need to have the time to be able to look at it. So it's not gonna work for me to do something in 30 minutes or can I just jump on this call? No, I can't jump on the call.
Yeah. Very good, thank you, Jennifer.
If I can just add, I really empathize with our internal audit folks. I work closely with internal audit, and my first reaction to that audit report that they requested a month ago was they would have had it a month ago, because nothing that audit asks for is sitting on my desk for a month, because we know how valuable what you do is. But I will say that in my organization with our auditors, you have to live within 60 minutes of an international airport, because based on the intensity of the investigation, you have to be on the fly. So the nature of your work is not one where you can have those standard boundaries. However, when I get out of office notices for our auditors, I am not interrupting their vacation, because I know when they are on, they are on. But the flip side of that and how you balance that is when your investigation is over, it's over, and you take that time then to maybe decompress and debrief and take your rest time and set your boundary after, because the nature of your work is so intense. If you're an emergency room doctor, you can't say, hey, it's 10 o'clock, I'm not taking that gunshot wound right now. But afterwards, if you've been on for 18 hours and you can take 6 hours to get some downtime, you should definitely do that. So I agree with you. It's not easy to do it in that standard way, but when you do have that opportunity and that time to rest and set your boundary, do it. And those who know what your work is will absolutely respect that boundary.
Totally.
Thank you for what you do.
You know what? Internal audit doesn't really ever get a round of applause. Let's give them a round of applause, because we all, auditors were like, no, they're coming. There's your round of applause. If you've never gotten it, there it is. But thank you for your feedback, because it's really true. It is very industry specific on how you manage your day. So that's another thing you need to think about when you're setting your limits and your boundaries. All right, I know I'm at time, that hour went by. It goes quick when you're up here. So I'm just gonna go back to this slide. If you have any questions related to what I talked about, if you would like this presentation, if you have any questions about fair lending, complaints, UDAP, and privacy, we talked about privacy that I just found out last week, feel free to reach out to me. And also on LinkedIn, I would suggest that you take a picture or write my last name down because it is kind of tricky. But I will definitely accept all of your requests. And I thank all of you all for staying until the very end.